know, there's so many great people that I actually follow. And I know you do too. You know, I hate name dropping, but one I am going to say one, and he's doing such an amazing job. I spoke to him, I reached out to him. It's Tim Ross, and to see how God is definitely using him, and it hit home for me because I know what it did for me.
Yeah.
Right? We don't have that in our sector. We don't have that in...
Have what?
The podcast, the
voice.
The voice to open up,
right?
You know, this room to be healed or to find healing or to be directed or to be a source
right.
of healing, to be a source to, you know, talk about your hurts to, yo, you know, okay, so I had a lot of these moments where I would watch this podcast, The Basement, and I would be like, yo, I go through the same thing too. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, yo, that felt so good, man. And
no, it's true. I only watched one of his podcasts, but it was the one with the movie guy,
Devon Franklin.
I
watched that too.
That was the last one. But I realized even listening to his story how much it related
to you,
like how much I was able to connect to it, and just to be able to hear these people come down to earth. Yeah, it's like it's almost like it's reachable. Like you can reach out.
That part.
Reach out and touch it.
You know, you probably grew. Well, of course you grew up in that same. But I don't know if you went through that same. I don't know, reality or epiphany. But I remember growing up, seeing pastors, seeing leaders, and I'm like, man, I wish one day I could. I wish one day I could just, you know, they felt so far to touch. Like they felt like they were sent by God, and because they were sent by God, you could never say hi.
Can't even get close to it.
I'm not clean enough to be close to them.
Right.
I'm not worthy enough to talk to them because we don't have the same verbiage. You know, and that's just the truth. And sometimes it goes down to, if I could be real honest, I don't look the part. So my color, even though we're black.
Your color or your hair? My
hair and my color, I gotta say that. But my hair played a big role.
Especially in our culture.
And I'm not idolizing Tim Ross, but him and the different leaders, remnant of leaders that's coming up, they don't look like
your regular
leaders.
I posted something online a while ago. I posted, what did it say? It was along the lines of, this generation is not looking for a mask, or they're not looking for the facade. Yeah, they want the real thing. It's either you give them the real thing, or they go the other way.
Facts.
They're like super extreme. It's like either you give me God, or you give me something else. But I don't want the middle. I want the truth. Yeah. And I'm not gonna take the fluff. Man, like this generation right now is so bold, kid.
They crazy bold. They crazy bold, and that's that word. I've been hearing that word a lot. Fluff.
Yeah.
Fluff. Fluff. You know, I was writing a paper, and it's like, yo, you have to, you know, and I'm relearning how to do certain things. And as I write a paper, it's like, yeah, right here, all here is fluff. Like fluff. Who says fluff? But it's true. It's all fluff, and they're not with that fluff.
Nah, they're not.
They're not with the fluff.
But honestly, I don't think none of us should be.
Yeah.
I think bringing in today's church. I think in today's church, if we grew up in a church with no fluff, where you could keep it real, where it's not about the looks and I guarantee you this generation or my generation would be totally different.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Absolutely. Different. Absolutely. This that part you said, keeping it real, you know? Yeah. In my house, in my church, we would have this on our table where we eat. You know, it would symbolize, for me and my kids, we would symbolize the table where this is where we talk. This is where everything when we eat, we don't put the TV we don't put the TV on unless or no gadgets, anything like that. Unless we all agree we're gonna watch this together. And we're going to either watch this video or we're going to hear this thing together, right? Yeah. That's what we do on the table. But when the table is dirty too, it symbolized, we have a lot of clog in our lives. We need to clear the table
We
because
need
we're
to
not
clean.
able to talk.
We need it clean.
We need to clean because if now we're saying something, we're sitting across and the table's dirty.
You're distracted.
Distracted, or something is blocking us from the.
Yeah.
Almost like almost like me and you and God, or me and God. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, but me bringing that up is being real, right? If church could be real, right? So I realized, and it came up in my house. In church, when you do wrong, it's like you need to build up. You need to build up so much courage to say, I messed up.
I'm struggling.
And it came in my house, and on the table was a moment that something happened with my son. He was introduced to explicit films in school. From a student. So he didn't know how to handle that, but he's seen it, and his mannerisms started to change. Things started to change. And we had to come to the bottom of it. So we went on the table, and when we got on the table, it was me, my wife, and my son. And we sat there, and we talked. And I saw the table. I said, son, this is the table. See how there's mess here? Let's clean it out so we can talk. And we started. And when I said, let's put it to the side. And there was a straight passage. So let's to the side. And we was able to talk. And I said, there's a lot of things that was said on the table. But at the end of the day, the takeaway, here was a great big thing. I told him, I know in church we was taught to build courage to say this is what we did wrong, this is what we did, this is what we did, you know what I'm saying? But you don't need to do that over here in this church, right? Say whatever it is you're going through, put it on the table. Let's figure it out together, right?
Let's work it out together.
So I'm holding his hands, and he's sitting across from me. And as he's sitting across from me, and he's looking at me, he's like, okay, Dad. But I can tell the guilt was eating him up. He started crying. And I was like, whoa. And I started crying. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, hold my hand. But it was such an amazing, and my wife was right there looking at two male figures.
Wow.
Interacting with each other like it's father and son, just like the father and son.
Yeah.
I'm showing this grace to my son. You don't need to be strong.
Yeah.
You don't need to build this courage to tell me the truth. I ain't gonna change with you. It made it so easy for him to put everything on the table. Wow. And since then, it's been almost a year or 2 years now. This kid's a different kid. But imagine if we had that in church. If we could be real. That's what all this. If we were able to be real, not build up courage. Like after they tell you this, of course, there's going to be procedures and such things to to go through the restoring phase, the delivering phase, restoration phase. I get that, but they shouldn't have to go through the pops and circumstances or whatever through loops just to tell you I'm struggling. I need somebody.
I'm struggling.
And not to go back to my man's Tim Ross, but that's what the basement did for me. Like, it made me okay with me not being okay, and it's okay.
Yeah. The
love that you had for me, it made me be okay.
Yeah.
My community, there was a point in time in the beginning of the year, I thought I was disqualified. I thought God was never going to use me again. And I was saying it. Okay?
Speaking it.
I believed it. I spoke it. I'm disqualified. That's it. Harold, that's it.
Yeah.
Which brings a lot of things. I'm seeing it. That's why I was living under a rock. So much layers, So all the time I thought I was disqualified when my community, podcasters, my community.
But it's something about community I think that really stands out, and we were talking about this upstairs. Um, what about community? What is it in the community that allowed you to experience redemption?
Redemption.
It was. It was. It was the love.
Yeah.
It was essentially the same experience you had between you and your son.
Mm-hmm.
It was the love.
Love, for sure.
I'm not going to beat him for something he experienced. I'm not going to try to beat it out of him. I'm not going to try to judge on him. I'm not going to try to judge on him. I'm not going to try to destroy him. It was the love of a father that carried him through. And I think, you know, we grew up Haitian.
That's why, and that's the reason I'm like, woo. Can I say something?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Bro, and I am to admit, because I was that guy.
Yeah.
Why? I was
That's
taught
that's what you knew.
That's all I knew.
That's what you knew.
Had it would have been 3-4 years ago, I would have spanked my son for that. But that's because that's what I thought I had to do.
Know. That's what you think.
Had it not been
That's what tradition taught you.
That's what tradition taught me. I got spanked for everything.
Yeah, exactly.
I haven't got marched. Like anyway, I thank God for it, because it kept me, but man, it was still trauma,
To a degree, yeah.
To a degree, only to
a degree. Yeah.
I believe it was needed.
Yes. And I also believe that that's all our parents knew.
That's all they knew.
That's all they knew.
They knew the real deal trauma.
Yeah. They knew
iguas, where their knuckles are dark because they didn't speak French in school.
Right.
They went through yeah. So and just in case for those who don't know what iguas is, from what I know, from what they told me, it's pretty much cow skin.
Yeah.
That they dry up.
Wrapped. Yeah.
Wrapped up, and they beat you with the cow skin. We might as well just put us on the cross too, like Jesus did. I was like, just but so had it would have been like 3, 4, 5 years ago, I would have spanked my kid. Had it not been for the wisdom of a wife.
Ooh,
my wife.
Shout out to the wife. Shout out to
Lalu. I love you, baby. Shout out to my wife. For just because she wasn't raised that way. She was raised. She has other traumas in her life, but shout out to her, because had it not been for her to sit me down, like, babe, this is not way. The truth is, I lost my first son like that. My son, that's the first son, he's not in my life like that. I think because of the hardness. I think? Yeah, that's another conversation for another day. But the tenderness that I have for my children, even for my wife, for people, I'm not. There's a video out. Back in the day, Revelation.
Yeah.
There's a video out where I'm yelling at the music.
Like real deal yelling at the.
Back to playing the keyboard.
Are you serious?
Like, I don't want to say it because I know they're going to look for it. They're going to find it. But that's because I've been taught to be cutthroat. Whether it's music, I was cutthroat. It was just really hard. It was a hard knock life for me, So, and I thank God for showing me the wisdom to not be that way.
But what brought us here was love.
Yeah.
It's like the language of love, or the redemption that comes from love. I remember when I was a kid, and my parents used to beat. Well, my mom used to beat me. My dad didn't really beat me, but my
Your dad didn't beat you?
No. My dad.
My dad beat me the hardest. My mom beat me every day, but my dad beat me the hardest.
When my dad did beat me, he beat me the hardest. But majority